Hi everyone, I'm so excited to officially launch my new color palette clear stamp set. I have already shown it briefly in a video last week, but as of today when the video goes live, so now you can find them in my Etsy, Alyona Creates. This time I won't be putting a specific timeline because I have a largish stock, but I don't know how fast they will go. But yeah, they're available today, from today. And hopefully they should last a week or two, but I think last time I was hoping for a week and they sold out in a few days. So that's another set. But yeah, so basically these are now available. And in the previous video, I'll just show this again to refresh your memory, or if you haven't seen it, this is the sort of thing you can create with this stamp set. And there is a lot more, which I will be slowly showing how I sort of like to use this stamp set in color study. And so basically we have 10 different elements here which you can play around with. It's a build your own stamp set again, which means you can create loads of different things with it beyond the 10 pieces that you have here. So they are made to, you know, be creative with and find ways how you like to use them, as well as using them together. So for instance, this circle can be used together with this color wheel or separately, as well as this triangle can be incorporated into this color wheel, or it can be used in something else. So there's a number of things you can do to explore your color palette, to explore your mixing, to get better at color mixing, and also to explore neutrals, which is, there are a couple of elements here, including this obvious one for neutral mixes. So today what I want to show you is, previously I would show you this sort of a color wheel where you can just create, well, use 3 primary colors and create 4 in between. So you can create secondary colors as well as in between. So you kind of expand the range of colors that you can mix. You can use this color wheel in other ways as well. You can create, for example, a color palette that you wish to work with. It doesn't have to be primary colors at all. So you could use, for instance, 3 or more colors as your main colors that come from a half pan or a pan or a tube. And then you can also mix those and find out what colors you can get from those. So yeah, there's a number of ways you can do this. Like I showed you in the other images, you can use the center white, or you can stamp triangle to connect the primary colors if you're working with them. You can use this area to create secondaries, and then this one could be left white, or it could you could add a mix of the 3 primaries to create a neutral. So number of things you could do, and today I'm going to show you how I have created this element right here, which I really like. This is my kind of favorite way of doing it. I prefer to leave right the center white, just because I don't want to put dark color into here. Neutral would be always a dark color, so I prefer to do my neutral with this element. And the way I've done here is sort of wet on wet, which means I wet the areas and then I let the colors kind of flow into one another. But you can also just do a separate thing where you just color these 3 and then the center separately mix it in a pan and then add it into the center, and that would be your kind of, you know, clean, perfect little ways of exploring colors. So let's start with this. Now, how do we get from here to here? We're going to use the circle. So we are going to use this element here. We're going to use the circle to stamp in the middle and divide the colors into smaller section. So here you could add, in this case, either more water to create a more lighter version of this color, or you could, for instance, you could add white to create pastel variety of those colors, or you could add black to create a darker color. So whichever way you wanted to do, or you can leave it just like that. So the third element that I'm using today is going to be the triangle, and that is going to create secondary. So very easy and quick way of reminding ourselves that these three colors created these secondaries. So let's start. You can use any color you want. Again, depending on which yellow, which red and which blue you use, the colors will change. I really like this color creation right now. I think it's very vibrant and very summery. And what you may notice is this yellow is actually not your typical yellow. It's more of a green, kind of chartreuse type of yellow. So I discovered this mix recently and I absolutely love it. So we're going to use, or I am going to use, a bright yellow green from Sennelier, which is a recent discovery. I absolutely love this color, especially in these sort of mixes. Then we have Opera Pink by Daniel Smith, and we have Cobalt Turquoise Light Winsor & Newton. You can substitute these colors according to how your preference lays. So I'm just going to squeeze a little bit of... I recommend a brush of similar size. So this is a 4 because we're going to work with small areas, and it would be easy to control water. I find this Neptune brush by Princeton a great brush for this sort of exercise, but feel free to grab a brush of your liking. So here are the elements. If you have my previous color wheel, you'll notice that the sizing is just literally maybe a millimeter coming out more. But to be honest with you, I'm thinking it could be just the way it's cut around the color wheel. I think it's got a bit of a larger lip this time, so it appears like it's bigger, but it seems to be, well, I was hoping to have it exactly the same sizing, so you won't notice any size difference if you stamp them next to each other. So you have 16 color option in this color wheel. Also, the round color blocks are coming back to my Etsy, Alyona Creates, because I had so many people ask for them, and I think they work beautifully with these round color wheels, and also a lot of your other stamping elements. Round acrylic blocks just feel good in my hand. There's just something quite easy to navigate. Whereas with these ones, it's sort of, you know, becomes a bit awkward with you hit the corners of a rectangular one. So with the round ones, I really enjoy it. Okay, and finally the triangle. With the triangle, you will notice that the bottom half is longer than the sides. So the way I like to use it is just point exactly in this middle line. This is another reason why I wanted to have it nice and straight, and then the corners will lead into the other colors, which doesn't matter because you will be coloring it or using watercolor. Okay, so let's start with our primaries. So we have bright yellow green as our beautiful primary. So the dividing circle is quite useful, not only to, for example, if you wanted to swatch out your entire color palette of 32 colors, for example, but also it's easier to do gradients. So you just leave a little line in between. So leave these lines untouched so the watercolor doesn't run into one another and doesn't create a mess. So you can see how I've done it here. By leaving little lines, you keep your colors nice and clean. In some cases I still manage to touch them and then they blend into one another, but predominantly I like it to have nice and organized and clean. So for the lighter swatch, what I do is take my brush, add some more water and create a very light version of this color. If I see that it's still got a lot of pigment, I'll use more water. And again, not touching the previous because otherwise it will just flow into this lighter color and we won't see the difference. So essentially the circle helps us to divide the two and make it easier to really have lighter and darker rather than sometimes, if I show you another example here, I try to do them gradient, but sometimes the color flows to the bottom, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it just looks exactly the same on both sides, so we won't get that difference in color. Next one, remember to leave 4 colors in between, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and that would be our red. So in watercolor you call red anything that is red or pink. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and we go in here. So this is going to be a more concentrated swatch with more pigment. And then I water it out just here on the side. See how I'm covering the corner of the triangle, which again creates a bigger separation between the secondaries once we get there. So you're less likely to touch the two colors and merge them together. So I thought through everything here. Okay, let's now look at our blue. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 colors in between. So for the blue, depending on what blue you use, again, it could be an ultramarine, it could be something more like tailored blue, all sorts of different varieties, cobalts, cerulean blue, cobalts of any type, whether cobalt blue or cobalt teal or turquoise. In my case, it's a lovely turquoisey, tealy type of color. So here we go. And now the fun begins. So I'm going to take a bit of the yellow and start mixing our oranges. You will be surprised how beautiful the oranges will be with this chartreuse color. Because chartreuse has obviously green and yellow in there, you would think that the green would neutralize it a little bit too much, but it doesn't happen. So look at this color mixing here. It's a beautiful coral, and I'm going to add a lot more of the chartreuse so we get to a yellow. Now look how beautiful this yellow is. I could add even a little bit more chartreuse to lighten the color. So here we go. So now we have our perfect gold green, which is leaning towards a warm, light yellow. Or not yellow, not light, a warm, earthy yellow. That's what I wanted to say. Okay, touch more of the pink. The color changes very quickly, so I'm going to add a touch by touch. So we've got now a lovely yellow that's leaning towards orange. There we go. Next one, a bit more pink. It's so therapeutic. So this, when you water it out, it makes a perfect peach color. Very gentle, very light. Isn't that gorgeous? Now, a bit more pink. Look at this color. Isn't that stunning? I think I'll add just a tiny bit more. That's it. Would you ever imagine that adding this color to this would create this lovely coral? So for me, these three colors are beautiful. And I prefer this to a lemon yellow for sure. It's just a lot more interesting. The lemon yellow kind of makes it a bit boring for me personally. It's just very, you know, common. But adding a little chartreuse instead, oh boy. There we go. So we're done with our yellows and our oranges and reds. And then let's move on to the purples. So I've got a little puddle of opera pink right there, and I'm going to very carefully introduce a little bit on my brush into this mix, because otherwise it'll go too much into purple straight away. So this is an interesting color. So if you ever use cobalts, now I recommend cobalts in your blue. Whichever tone of a cobalt you go for, it will create lovely separation. It will create lovely pigment separation as well as texture. So I personally really love it. Let's do a lighter version. Right, now again a little touch more of the blue into here, and you can judge how much you need to add. If it's too close to this color, you also want more variety. So I think this color on this side works well, so maybe a touch more. Okay, these two colors makes a very pretty blue as we get closer to the blue on this side. So at the moment we're still in our sort of, or we are in actually in purples. This was a violet. So we're going into our purples now. Like that. Here we go. Again, touch more of the blue. So look at that. It's kind of between a purple and between a blue. Beautiful, beautiful color. Love it. I'd say these three colors at the moment are sort of my signature primary colors that I love using. And I can start seeing the pigment separation here. There we go. And finally one more. Mix with the blue. So this time it will be like a moody version of this color. So here we go. Just like that. Now I'm going to touch more water. So see how it's helping me to have these lines. So we don't have a black stamping image. Now you can do with black ink absolutely fine. Doing a lighter color, it could be any other color, it doesn't have to be this nude, it's just my choice, but you could go with any other light colors of the ink to stamp the image. And then you end up with color looking at you rather than with black lines. Okay, so I wiped off my pink mostly, as we have left not much to do. Oh, I forgot, we did need some pink for the secondaries. Anyways, we'll get there. So let's take a nice puddle of the blue, cobalt turquoise light, and start adding touch by touch our bright yellow green. So I probably want a little bit more blue in this. Okay, this is good now. Here we go. So the color I just mixed before this one was a tone closer to the yellow. So this is why I added a bit more of the blue. There we go. All right, a little bit more of the yellow into this. If you wanted, maybe a touch more of the yellow into here. Okay. All right. So now we want a little bit more of the yellow. This is such a vibrant, beautiful green, very zesty, very summery. There we go. And last mix. So with this one, I'll make sure that it mostly has this yellow with just a touch. So we want to kind of lean it towards a greener version. There we go, that's a good mix right here. So it's not quite there, it's not quite there, in the middle somewhere. There we go. Okay. So what to do with the secondaries? Now, optimally, you would still have your pink there, but I'll just go ahead and squeeze out a little bit more of the pink. So for this mix, what you need to do is think about equal ratio of both colors. So let's take this puddle and introduce this pink into it until we get to a lovely orange. So I'd say we don't want a pink, we don't want a red, we want an orange. This is a good orange, I'd say. Let's see, maybe a bit more, yeah, a bit more towards the pink. So now you're going to add it into this area here. Now we need to do the purple the same way. So we're going to get a bit of this purple into this pink, and I'd say that's a good mix right here. Again, making sure we have enough water, otherwise it just becomes a bit too thick, the consistency. I'd say even still it's a bit too thick. About there. And that goes here. Okay, that's our purple. And now let's finish with our green. So we've got a touch of yellow here, touch of this, and loads of water. And there you go. Just like that. It's very quickly for your eye to actually see these colors, to understand that this group has been created from those mixes, and that's the middle color that you can get. So this is it. It's been so much fun mixing these colors, and they're so vibrant and so gorgeous. So you can see how the cobalt is doing its magic in some of these mixes here. So I hope you enjoyed this fun color study, and yeah, if you're interested in the color palette stamp set, once again it's available on Alyona Creates on Etsy. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.